Hello, Facebook. Stanislava Lukok here. I am a naturopath and a fertility coach, and this is 40 Minutes of Hope. I am thrilled to invite my next guest in the studio today. I am just going to bring her to the stream. Hi, Antigone.
Hi, Stani. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine and I'm very happy to be here.
I am glad that you accepted my invitation to be here. It's an honor. So, this is Antigone Oreopoulou. Do I say that right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Antigone has a personal story of hope that she has generously agreed to share with you today. And she has also versatile scientific background. Impressive. She has a degree in biology or nutritional studies.
Yes.
She has a degree in psychology. Um, and maybe you're going to tell us a little bit more about yourself. She has the master's degree at the Medical School of University of Toronto from in nutritional studies, and then biology degree from Thessaloniki. Her second psychology degree is at the University of Indianapolis, and her third is on communication and public relations at the American College of Athens. She's trained in body psychotherapy, trauma therapy, EMDR, clinical hypnosis, Reiki, and pranic healing. She works mainly on communication between children and parents from conception till the end of adolescence, and sometimes beyond that, on easy pregnancy and birth. She also works with people of Generation Z, supporting them on how to cope with current world changes. I can go on and on and on, but maybe I want to start with asking you, is there an interest of all the versatile areas that you are expert in that is closest to your heart? What do you currently do professionally now? Tell us more about yourself.
Well, as you said, Stani, I had a very long process in science, and one step led me to another. As you said, I started from biology and then went to nutrition, and nutrition led me to psychology because I realized that our feelings dominate and our emotions. And though we have a lot of logic and rational thought, finally the emotions and the conscious is that makes most of our decisions. And that also because I realized that communication is life and life is communication. That means that on a cellular level, we communicate, the cells communicate with each other because otherwise we cannot be alive. And then life is about communication. We say our feelings, we share our thoughts, we share our hopes, and we have something answering to them. So,
Beautiful.
and also everything that is happening in life for me is communication, and that's why is the connecting feeling and the common denominator in all my studies and in my professional experience. So everything
Awesome.
has to do with communication and how communicate also with our bodies in terms of fertility and infertility.
Interesting. Um, I want to go straight to the point, and I want to ask you to share your story. And you have a daughter that is now 23?
Really? Yes.
23. Um, tell us what was the path to meeting your daughter. I know you had some fertility challenges, quite a few along the way. Um, Tell us.
So my story started, as you said, I had a long story in studying. And when I was about 32 years old, my husband told me, okay, you have a first degree in biology. You know that the biological clock is going to tick down somehow in the near future, because back then it was 37, 38 was the age that was considering the cutoff point in terms of infertility and fertility. So I said, okay, with a lot of arrogance in my life, I said, okay, I have done so many things in my life, so now I can have a kid. And I realized the very hard way that I couldn't, because I started having miscarriages. I had my first pregnancy, and it was almost a biochemical pregnancy, and I had my first miscarriage. And I said, okay, my body is not used to have pregnancies, and that's why I have a miscarriage. And then let's go to the next trial. And then again, a second miscarriage and third miscarriage, and then my self esteem and went down the road. And also, I start feeling very strange about my body. And I realized I'm Greek. So, in Greek families, having a baby is a big announcement. So, saying to the whole family I'm pregnant is something that gives the whole family is a family issue, it's not a per couple issue. And I realized that my first decision was I will never announce my pregnancy until I'm sure about that. And also, I start feeling really strange because my OB-GYN started telling me that you have to have pills, that you have to have injections, that you have to have all this kind of, let's say, horrible tests, and invading tests in
Very
the
invasive,
body
yeah.
in order to decide what is wrong with your body. And again, all the guilt and came to my body that my husband wants a baby and I'm not able to provide this baby because all the tests showed that my hormones, I'm defective in hormones. And that went on for 5 years. For 5 years, I was trying to have a child. I was becoming pregnant, and up to the third month, the pregnancy was gone. So I went at one point, I stopped working because I went in a very deep depression. As I say, years later, I was even looking at a pregnant cat and I was starting crying.
I had the same. I would go on the street and only notice pregnant women. The world was full of pregnant women everywhere around me.
So I was crying from morning to night and I could not even stop. But then it was like a catharsis. And after 2 months of crying, after all these years, one day the sun came out again. And I said, okay, if I don't have a child, I'm not going to be the first or the last woman not to have a child. And probably I relaxed. And in a few weeks, I was again pregnant. And the interesting thing was that I had to do a very long trip to the States, to Canada actually. And I went to my gynecologist and I told her I'm pregnant again, what I'm going to do. And she tells me, look, you have so many miscarriages. I will just prescribe some injections to you. Go enjoy yourself and we will see what we will see when you come back. So I had again the pregnancy. I do believe that my daughter was really decisive. She had decided to come into our lives. So I
So
had a very easy pregnancy.
that was the pregnancy with your daughter when you had to go to Canada.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Very easy pregnancy. No nausea, no nothing. Very easy birthing and a very easy child.
Maybe it was
So,
the right time.
yes.
The right soul at the right time at the
And
right
I do
place.
believe, looking back, that internally I hadn't accepted unconsciously that I was going to be a mom.
Hmm.
And it is interesting because few years later, I read a study, and this study said that women that have issues in order to have children, they fall into four categories. The first easy category are the women that consciously and unconsciously do want a child. So this is the piece of cake
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on all
case.
levels.
Yes. The second, also very easy case is that women don't want children unconsciously and consciously. This is also an easy
Yeah,
case. The third case is that women want consciously children, but they don't want them unconsciously, they are not ready. And the fourth case is that consciously they don't want children, but they do want them
subconscious.
unconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
So this is also a very easy case. I think that I fell in the third one, that
Mm-hmm.
consciously saying I want a child, but unconsciously I was not ready.
It's a great perspective. I have thought about the same thing. I had my first pregnancy ended up in miscarriage at 8 weeks, and it was soon after I had met my husband. And consciously, I did want children, but subconsciously, I felt I was not ready because I wanted to enjoy my partner. I wanted to enjoy my marriage. I thought it was maybe early that our life is gonna end. We are not gonna be able to travel. So that pregnancy ended up in a miscarriage, and I know there were other reasons, but I think one of the reasons was that I was subconsciously not ready.
Yes, because I do believe, Stani, that besides our will, because don't forget, I read a book some decades ago that the title was A Profession to Being a Baby.
Mm-hmm.
And in this book, it was described how baby is a social desire also. And for the women especially, a baby is something that sometimes she has to give to the society, to the family, and everybody who is interested. But also, we live in a society that we have a lot of freedom now. We go out, we work. Family is not the only option, and sometimes all these conflicting feelings create this subconscious or unconscious, as you said,
Mm-hmm.
undesire for a child.
Yes. Um, I know that you wrote a book along the way that has to do with infertility. And the title of the book is Shall I Give My Soul for a Child? Did I
Yes,
say that right?
yes,
W-
in Greek is και τη ψυχή μου για ένα μωρό. That means that should I offer everything to obtain a child? And actually, this book has a very interesting story because along these 5 years that I was trying to become a mom, I was keeping a diary. All
Uh-huh.
my disappointments, hopes, and everything, my depression, everything was in this diary. So it was, they were just increasing in size, the height of these diaries. And one day when I had my child, I went through to see my story, to see my personal history. And at the same time, miraculously, in my office started coming women that had infertility issues. Also, one thing that I had done all these 5 years was that when I was in the waiting rooms, in the hospitals, in the operation rooms, I was listening and I was talking with women, trying to comfort each other, and I was listening to their stories. And little by little, I wrote these stories with their permission, and it came out a book. Came out a book that's saying all the stories and how we suffer because back then infertility was a well hidden secret. There was a lot of shame saying that I cannot have children. No way.
Even
And
today, I find it's taboo in some cultures. It's even today it's difficult to talk about that.
yes, because we think that our body is ready to become, to produce a baby. Also, the men's bodies have to produce a baby, but at the end of the day, this is not the case for many reasons. Medical reasons, unexplained reasons, subconscious reasons, nutritional reasons, clothing reasons, you name it, maybe it's the
Everything.
cause. But the thing is that you don't have a child at the end of the day. And sometimes the family pushes for that and it creates a lot of pressure. And in my practice, unfortunately, I have coped with very difficult stories because sometimes people think that they have to go to have children without being ready.
Mm.
And then they change their minds, but it's too late. For instance, in my, so one thing that I would say and underline here is that we have to be really careful because sometimes doctors push, you have to have this therapy, you have to do that, you have to have a sperm donor, you have to have an egg donor in order to have your child. But at the end of the day, this is a lot of pressure. And I do think the couple needs a lot of preparation to be ready for that.
Yes, it's a very interesting perspective that you're bringing because I mostly see people that are desperate to have a child. They're ready. They have been ready, but they cannot. But yes, you have to think also what if you're not ready to become a parent, paying any price, because then you cannot undo it. You know.
And this is the thing that when this book actually, this diaries became a book, just to continue the story about the book. I remember that when I read it, I gave it away to my editor. Thought, oh my gosh, what did I do? I'm going to expose myself and I'm going to expose something that is not said out loud, never before. So I was ready just to rush back to my editor's office and say, no, 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 give my book back. You are not going to publish this book. The interesting thing, that was back in 2004. The interesting thing is that when this book came out, I was receiving almost 100 calls per day
Wow.
for women, but also men saying, thank you for saying these stories. Because that I did in this book, I just created a couple which had a lot of cases and a lot of problems that I had coped with, and other women had to cope with, and other men had to cope with. And it was a story how they started with infertility and how they had their baby, and their inner thoughts, their conflicts, their quarrels, what the doctor said, what their family said. So people were calling me and said, you are describing my story. And thank you for saying loud out about this issue.
Just like
And
I'm saying today, thank you for sharing out loud your story because even today we need to hear more stories like that. So the book was published in 2004.
and in 6 months went it had finished. There were no more issues. So
And
right, right now, after all these years, they told me you have again to have a second edition about that. So I'm just rewriting and I'm filling some,
eh,
updating the book. So hopefully by the end of the year it will be in English because it was in Greek.
yes, that's what I wanted to mention. I know you're having it translated in English. I cannot wait to read that book.
I will let you know, but the thing for me that it gave me a lot of pleasure, it was that it supported many couples. I mean,
I'm
looking
sure.
back, I said I was feeling really ashamed about saying things because the first, and I have to mention here that the main motive to overcome my shame was a great politician here in Greece. She's not alive anymore. And I was talking with her. She was the leader of a party. I was talking with her, and I told her, I was thinking this and this and this. We were friends years from when we were children. And she told me, look, write your book. And when your book is ready, I will be there to tell my story as well. So I'm getting emotional right now because Fofi Yenimata was one of the people that really encouraged me also to overcome my shame and my hesitation and talk about my story and other people's stories for my psychotherapist perspective. But also, she kept her word and she was there to make the introduction to my book and tell her story.
I'm so glad she did give you that support and push. Um, I want to ask you, did it ever occur to you, did you ever think over these years, especially after writing the book, that maybe the reason why you had to go through your fertility challenges was because there was a bigger picture, and because maybe you had to send this message, you had to publish this book out, and you had to help the many couples that you have?
Well, I have thought about that. Thank you for saying that, Stani. Yes, after all these years, for me, it was worth it. All the suffering and all this pain and the depression and everything was worth it because you are right. The big reward was all these calls and all these hugs that I received afterwards. Thank you for saying out loud your story.
um, my next question is related to that. If I ask you, why do you think you became a mother when you became a mother? Not earlier, not with any of the previous pregnancies. Um, did you learn any lessons? What is the lesson you think you had to learn um, to become mother when your daughter came?
Well, I think that I was ready.
Hmm.
I could be ready to appreciate my child. I think I had also the age maturity not to be a mother as I wanted or imagined that I had to be, but also I had the patience, I think at least, to learn from my child and not to teach her, but to learn from her and be able to watch her, to be able to learn and follow her, not to be the leader, to have my daughter as a leader.
Mm.
So I do believe that the greatest lesson that I learned is to not to be on the first seat, but to be on the back seat.
Hmm.
And I had, I think, the experience and the wisdom to do so, though it wasn't always easy.
And as it happens often, our children are our biggest teachers.
Yes.
So,
I have learned that, and I have learned in regard of my values, my life perspectives, my priorities, and I have even now I'm learning. I'm learning a lot of things, and I'm very happy about that.
yeah,
It's not always easy.
I think that if we were not learning, then what's the meaning of it? Like, there is one moment in time that comes that we stop learning, but until we're alive, I think we should be learning. Um,
I think one big lesson that we learn about from our kids is the lesson of freedom, because at least in Greece, the Greek family sometimes think that kids are there for the parents. But actually, we have to change that, to reverse that, and say that kids are there for our kids. The kids are not here for us.
mhm,
So, just to share something personal, when my daughter flew in amidst of COVID pandemic to the States, and she wanted to do that, she was ready. I was dead from my fear that she was flying to another continent to stay there alone. I could not even fly if something happened to her.
mhm.
That was a big also lesson for me. And it was about freedom. It was about choice. And I think in every step and in every age, our children teach us about freedom, choices, and consequences.
Beautiful. Um, I want to ask you more about your expertise in communication, and especially when it comes to communication with a future baby, with the fetus, because I know you shared with me you believe that the communication between the parents and the child needs to start long before birth. Um, uh, when should the communication start? And tell me what are your tips and advices to the couples during pregnancy? How should they
Um, I,
communicate with the baby?
I think the communication, first of all, starts with the uterus. You know, we women think our uterus as something that we remember when we have our menstrual cycle and when we're pregnant. Otherwise, it's just an organ in our body that is there. But uterus, I think, in some cases, is considered the fourth level of consciousness in our body. It has a lot of nerves. It's the source of creation. And I read many years ago somewhere that the Egyptian religion was based on the uterus, the mystery of the uterus, which is the source of creation. So I found that really interesting, and I do believe that in many women, uterus, which represents also sexuality, femininity, is something that we have, first of all, to embrace, to think that we have a body, we are women, and we are women exactly because we have this organ. And we have, first of all, to communicate with it. We have to feel that there is no shame about that and think the cultural ideas about shame. We have to feel that there is an organ in your body which gives life, makes us to be women, and is something very important to feel. And I have to say, in many cases, because there is a lot of shame regarding breasts and uterus, many women have a lot of hesitation later on and they don't feel comfortable to breastfeed their babies. They don't feel comfortable with their body changing while this baby is created, that is grown in this body. So for me, the first and one exercise that many times I give to people that come to me is just take a piece of paper, a lot of colors, and draw a paint something that represents your uterus. And if there is no color there, make sure that your paintings change and make your uterus a very nice and fertile garden.
Yeah, that's the soil where we plant the seed.
Exactly. And also, another very important way of communication in when the baby starts growing is touching. Use your hands. Actually, we see a lot of women when the belly is really grown, is they just hug their belly and unconsciously they just make this movement. But the thing is that make it conscious. Also, the dads have to hug this belly. Many women also feel okay. My breasts have grown up, my belly, I have lines. I have this very dark line on the center of my belly sometimes. And also, this is another cultural thing because we have all the actresses that they have this huge belly, but their bodies are very thin. And
Mm-hmm.
after a few weeks giving birth, again, they look really fit and really nice. And the average woman doesn't look like that. So, for me, the first thing that I would say is embrace your body. It's very important about that. Feel there are no, now we go through a culture of no shame in the body. But the thing is, feel that your body is what it keeps you alive. Your body is something without it, we don't exist. Instead of focusing if we have wrinkles or if we have cellulite, if we have if our breasts are up or down or whatever, it's very important to feel a lot of grace towards our bodies. Just to feel that there is a connection and communication between our organs because a very high percentage about the unexplained infertility comes from the gut, the leaking gut. You are a naturopath, so probably you are very familiar about that.
A lot of things can be traced back to the leaky gut, intestinal
So
impermeability.
also we have and we know that anxiety, because when we have infertility, stress and anxiety just keeps going up and up and up and up and up. That means that we have also stress hormones in our bodies. We have stress hormones in our gut, which actually communicates back to our brain. So what the doctors say, relax, is something that we have to do. We have to accept the situation that it is because relaxation helps our body to produce more eggs sometimes, and we have seen that to be more happy, to have a happy uterus, about to be very welcoming for a baby. And this is something that we have to practice how to relax against all the odds. I shared with you my personal story. I think that another factor that permitted my daughter to remain in my body, it was that I was relaxed. How I did that? With a very hard practice. That was meditation and work close to the nature. I was walking, I was swimming, I was doing a lot of things that made me feel relaxed. And when bad thoughts popped in my mind, oh, maybe I would lose this baby, I was just trying to reverse these thoughts, and I was taking deep breaths. And also, I had to change my nutrition, I had changed my habits, I had changed a lot of things to support my whole body system, spirit, soul, mind, everything to keep this baby happy.
Totally agree. I mean, I work as a naturopath, but I tell all my clients that the approach to fertility should be a holistic one. It's just an extension of your health, and once you're the healthiest. Oh, excuse me, I just had a my iPad drop. um, I do emphasize the importance of psychological and emotional health, and I usually notice that most couples that come to me much more easily implement the physical, the tangible changes, like changing their diet, changing their sleep habits, exercise, and sometimes things don't work out for them, regardless. And that's when I think emotional inflammation is involved, and I can't stress more, as you say, on the importance of being relaxed and figuring how to manage stress. There are many techniques that one could use because reproduction, regeneration, rest happen in parasympathetic mode, and if you're stressed, your reproductive system will shut down together with your immune system and your digestive system. So
And also, one last thing, because you mentioned, Stani, the stress. One thing that I do advise the people that come to me is if you have gone through an unsuccessful IVF or whatever therapy you choose, or if you have a miscarriage, please don't rush to have another trial in the next month or in the next 2 months, because your body is mourning. Your body needs some time to go out of this black period and come again with a smile, to come out with an optimism. And one thing that I talked in the beginning about pressure is don't press yourself and don't permit anybody to press you how and when you will have your baby.
totally agree.
So
Um,
this is my greatest tip sometimes.
don't be pressured. Don't let anybody pressure you.
Yes. Choose your own instinct, because parenthood is about instincts at the end of the day. And we know very well that.
Yeah. I want to go back. I thought of something on the previous question of communication. Um, do you believe that maybe the communication with your baby and with the fetus should start even earlier than conception? And what I'm referring to, you might have heard that about a tradition in some of the African tribes. They do believe that the birth date of the child is not the actual date of birth. It's the date the mother took a decision to become pregnant and to have a child. And they have this beautiful ritual that the future mom, when she decides she wants to have a child, goes somewhere in nature, sits under a tree, and waits and waits to hear the song of her future baby. And when she figures the song of that future baby, she goes back to the future dad, and they make love, and they she teaches him that song. So basically, that it's beautiful, this belief that the communication with your future child starts at some point even earlier, at the moment that a woman decides she wants to have a child.
Actually, just I do believe that this is really a good practice. Just to make, as I said, make your uterus fertile, make your uterus and your body a welcoming vessel for this new soul. Because they say also, I have read somewhere, but nobody can prove that the babies, the souls of the babies, even 2 or 3 months before the conception, they start coming into the energy field of the future parents, and they test the waters. So it's very important to say, yes, I'm welcoming this baby, but not also the mother, but also the father.
Mm-hmm.
I welcome this baby. I want this baby in my life. I welcome it and I'm open to receive it. And when the conception starts, it's very important to talk even to this small being that is our first um, level of development, and talk to that and welcome to that. And say maybe songs or saying whatever they think they feel actually about this baby on the making. Yes, the answer in short is yes, 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 yes. So I agree that communication is in all levels, and sometimes many parents, future parents, have told me, "Oh, I feel a little bit silly talking to a belly or talking to a small picture of the baby,"
Mm-hmm.
but it's very important to do that because on the serious side, research has shown that they made the connection, they made the bonding, and all the hormones, oxytocin, endorphins, neuropeptides, actually are released in the body and help the growth of the baby.
I actually think that research was showing that the baby in the womb can hear the dad's voice first because of the lower frequencies of the voice, because of the bass of the man's voice, and if the dad sings a song like a lullaby, for example, to the baby, when the child comes out and he sings that song, the child instantly recognizes the dad because it's used to that voice.
Actually, keep in mind that all our body is a sound vessel, and some of the frequencies go through our bones. So think the bones that we have down to our pelvic, the pelvic bones, which are like uh, multipliers of sound. So when the mother talks or when the father talks, there are these movements, this pulsation, and the baby recognizes this pulsation of the voices. And that's why research has shown that when a baby is born and he or she hears the mother's voice, immediately he or she turns her head towards where the voice comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And the same comes from the father. So for sure, keep in mind that all life is pulsation. Our heart has a pulsation, cells has a pulsation, intestine, all the gastrointestinal system has a pulsation, uterus has a pulsation. We come in life through a pulsation. So life is also pulsation like sound and colors. And it's very important to enhance these pulsations. So again, my answer is yes. It's very important to talk, and babies do listen to these pulsations and they start recognizing the frequencies.
Beautiful. I want to ask you maybe a last question before we wrap up. Um, and I like to ask most of my guests that question. I want to hear your perspective on it, your personal take. Uh, it's usually very challenging when you have a goal, especially like the goal of becoming a parent, you desperately want a child, to find the balance between following your goal and um, trying to live in the present moment and enjoying it. How do you think one can find that balance? Are you good at it? Were you able to find that balance um, when you were trying to achieve your goal and have your baby? Um,
Okay, that I used to say, thank you for this very good question. I think that when a woman or a couple actually tries to have a baby and the baby doesn't come the natural way, the month is separated in three periods. One period is before the tests and the injections and the pills and everything. The second period is about doing all the therapy protocol. And the third is waiting for the test results. And when the result is negative, again, all this goes again and again. It's a loop that goes and goes and goes. So that I would say, and as I said before, there is a lot of pressure before, a lot of pressure. Yes, you have to do that and you have to do again, and you have to decide now, because if you don't decide now, then you are a lost case. So the first thing that I think the couple has to decide is to be able to set a limit for how long it will try, how many efforts will do, and make sure that they will exercise some period in their day that's something different than discussing the therapies, the protocols, or whatever else. It needs a very conscious effort to do that. Let me tell you, it's not easy, but for sure, it's very important, and also to keep their own identity about that and see that, okay, I want a baby desperately in my life. I will do my best to have this baby, but my life is not only this baby. If this baby comes, I will do everything, but I won't give everything to that.
Not your soul.
Yes. Keep your soul, because when the baby comes, and I will finish with that, Stani, I think one case that all the parents have to cope, or most of the parents, where they have give their soul to have a baby, is when this baby comes and the doctor proclaims that the baby is healthy. These parents want to sleep and take somebody else to take the baby and be okay, we achieved that. But then we have a baby that is our own and we have to cope with that baby.
Yeah, that's when the hard part comes.
Yes.
Like,
So you have to keep strength for this moment.
very well
I
said.
think I keep that in mind, that you have to have a baby, but when this baby comes, you have to have your strength, your bodily strength, your mental strength, your psychological strength to have this baby and cope with this baby.
Any last words of wisdom? Anything else that you feel you want to tell the couples struggling with infertility? Anything?
One step per time, one step per time. Remember that you remain a couple. Your life is not destroyed. You are a couple. You are two people that you fell in love and wanted to have a child, but you remain a couple. You have to communicate your feelings. You have to take one step per time, but again, communicate with yourself and to your partner your feelings. Let them be. Cry, shout, feel miserable, feel happy, and know that whatever is happening with your life, as you said before, there is a larger plan that sometimes you will see it years later.
Usually it's post factum, but
Yes.
there is always a good reason.
So that is my words of wisdom. Actually, it's my experience about that.
That has been so empowering and so bringing so much hope. Um, I will definitely want to hear when your book is translated in English. And if people want to learn more about you, or I'm not sure if you work with couples with infertility, if they want to find you and work with you and know more about you, what is the best way? to get in
Well,
touch?
they can communicate with me with Messenger or via Viber or via LinkedIn.
Okay.
So they can talk to me about that and see if I can support them or they need somebody else maybe or some advice about that or some other preparation before they come to me because this is a whole story. We have no time to talk about that, but thank you for that.
And thank you, Antigone, for your time, for your wisdom, for your personal story, for agreeing to share it on this platform, and for bringing so much hope
I
for
do
this
hope so.
community.
I
I'm
do hope
sure.
so. And thank you for doing that because it's really important for people. They feel they belong. And it's very important to share their feelings and not to keep inside themselves like something that they have to be ashamed of.
Yes, that's what I always want to emphasize. Reach out, find help, find like-minded people. There are many couples struggling with infertility. Unfortunately, it's 1 in 6 couples. That's the World Health Organization statistics nowadays. Reach out and find support.
Yes, reach
Thank you
out. So
very
let's do
much.
that. Reach out and find support. Thank you so
Thank,
much, Stan.
thank you,
Thank you.
Antigone.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.